Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our brothers, and this is a translation of that message. The message reads like this: Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I want to confess to you the things that I did from that time when I came to South Africa and joining this other occultic club, and the time that we started making money, and me meeting this other very beautiful young woman. At first, we refused my offer because I really wanted to be with her, but when she showed me that she was not interested in me at first, I was really hurt because as a man that was making money, I just felt that there was no woman who was supposed to deny me the right to date that woman that I'll be chasing after. So when she denied me, I felt so much hatred. My love towards her turned into hatred. Then I hated her a lot. And by the time that she fell in love with me because of my money, that was when I saw that she was not even nice. She was not sweet in bed. And this made me to hate her even more. And I ended up sacrificing her to our occultic club. So what happened was that I came here to South Africa, and at that time it was when there was this other operation that was happening back in our country that was called Operation Mrambatsvina, whereby the city council of Harare, it was going around destroying those back rooms. Like if you had your house in Harare, what they were doing was that they would come, then they will inspect your house, and they would see, if they would see that you have other illegal structures in your yard, then they would bring the graders, then they will start to destroy everything. So my parents, they were really poor. We used to stay at this other back room that was not included with the plan of that house. So when they came to inspect, and indeed they saw that the room in which we were staying, this was not on the plan. So the landlord, because he felt so sorry for my father, because my father at that time, he was really ill, and those people from the city council, they never felt sorry for my father for the fact that he was really ill. So what they did was that they just came and they destroyed everything. But the landlord then felt sorry for my parents, and after he had felt sorry for my parents, that was when he said to my parents, you can actually build your own small structure. You know, those small rooms that are made out of plastics, those were the ones that they were not destroying. So after they had destroyed that room, then my parents then started to build a room that was made out of those black plastics. So we were just staying in a plastic shack. But looking at the situation, it really pained me a lot until I came into contact with my friend who was here in South Africa. So he then said, no, it is fine. You can come here, then we can start to hustle. So I ended up coming to South Africa. I was really broke, and this guy, he taught me the business that he was doing. Back in those days, anyone that wanted to watch a movie, they had to buy, those CDs, the DVDs. They were really popular back in those days. So my friend, I don't know how he had came into contact with these other Nigerians that were busy printing out those DVDs after they would have downloaded the movies. So my friend was the one who was being used to sell those DVDs in the street. So when I also came, I then joined up with him, and I became a pirate, and I was selling those pirated movies. As I was selling those pirated movies, then those guys, they saw that I was very smart and I was really intelligent, because for many months they had tried to teach my friend how to operate a computer and how to print out these DVDs. But my friend was not able to But my friend, he was failing to operate a computer. But as for me, even though this was like the first time operating a computer, I managed to print out a lot of these DVDs, and we went out and we started selling them. Some of them we were selling in bulk to some people that were coming as far as from Mozambique, that would come and buy thousands of these movies. Then they would go and sell them either to Mozambique, some from Lesotho, as well as from Zim. So that is how we were making money. It then happened that there was this other time when my friend told me that he had been invited by his Nigerian bosses. He was supposed to go to this other party, but what he did not tell me was that he was actually being initiated, and this was the final day of him being initiated into their occultic club. But he then invited me anyway. So the dress code for this occultic party, we were supposed to wear the dress code for this occultic party, you were supposed to wear like only white clothes, but underneath you were not supposed to wear any underwear. So this was really weird for me, because the clothing that we were supposed to wear, like, it was really thin, whereby you could actually see a man's manhood, since we were not wearing any underwears. This was really weird to me, but since my friend was the one who was taking care of me, we then ended up going anyway. I agreed. When we arrived at that party, I saw that all of those men, it didn't matter if they were South African, from Zim, or Nigerian, they all didn't have any partners at all, but they were wearing the same white clothes as we were wearing, and they did not have any underwears underneath or boxer shorts. They were just like in their baby suits. So as people started drinking, then my friend told me that I was supposed to drink as well. So they ended up giving me some ciders, since I was not used to drinking beer. And the more that I drank, the more that I got drunk. As I got drunk, I realized that everything that was happening in that room that we were, because this party was taking place in the living room, and there was this other female DJ, and she was naked as she was busy playing the songs, doing her DJ stuff. She was the only woman who was there. The rest, they were just guys. And as they were drinking, I then started to notice that some of them, they were taking each other aside and they started kissing each other. Some of them, they were sitting on each other's laps as if one was a woman and the other one acting out as a man. Even my friend, I saw that the same thing that the other guys were doing, it was being done to him. He then went on his knees and he pulled out this other guy's manhood. Then he started to push that manhood into his mouth, and this made me want to vomit. So as I was looking at the whole situation, I was a little bit tipsy. But then I felt that the things that were being done to me, they were just unnatural, because there was this other man who forced me, who pushed his own manhood into my mouth. And by the time that I came back to my senses, he had already spread his semen into my mouth. So I started to protest, and I told my friend that I wanted to go. My friend then told me that I was actually embarrassing him and I was going to be kicked out of this party. If I wanted to help my parents, then I just needed to relax and act as if I was a woman for only one night. Then we were going to be wealthy. And I refused. And after I refused, some of the guys, they took me and they kicked me out. So I didn't know where to go, because it was really late at night. So I spent the whole night sleeping at that gate of that mansion where the party was being held. Early in the morning, that was when I saw my friend. He was opening up the gate, and I said, "Oh, my friend, there you are." And then he just ignored me. And then there was a car that drove out of the garage, and he got into that car. He totally ignored me. So I had to walk back to that location. Since I didn't have any money, I then decided to at least walk and avoid the CBD, because I was scared that people were going to look at me funny because of the way that I was dressing. Just imagine walking around wearing those white clothes that revealed your manhood and everything that is underneath. So I had to walk around avoiding the CBD. It took me a couple of hours until I had reached the location. By the time that I came to the location, I then found out that the guy, he had also gone to the shops and he had gone to buy some new furniture for his room, and then he ignored me. After he had ignored me, I then remembered that there was these other guys that I had once worked with. So I went and I spoke with them, since I didn't have a place to stay anymore. But they said that they could not stay with me since they were keeping their money in their room. They were scared that one day I was going to steal from them. They said that we only know your friend, but you, we do not know you. So I only slept at their place for a couple of nights, and I found myself not having any way to stay. So what I would do is that late at night, when I would make sure that everyone in the location has gone to bed, when there were few people going around, I would find a place by the side of the road where it was a little bit warm. Then I would just sleep there. I was really homeless until one day my friend then came and picked me up. So as for my friend, when he came to pick me up, he had a message that he had received from my parents. This was after he had started driving a very beautiful car and after he had made his money. So he was the one who was in communication with my parents, and the situation back home, it was really tough. Then the things that he had been told by my parents back home was that my little sibling, what he had done was that since he was like really hungry, and my parents were not at home at that time because my father was suffering from TB, so he had been taken to the hospital to receive his treatment. And when they were not at home, my little sibling, what he did was that he thought of cooking some food for himself. So we had this other old paraffin stove. He took that paraffin stove, then he lit it, and as he was busy cooking, he then went outside and he forgot that he was cooking. The only time when he realized that he had made a mistake, it was when he had seen that there was smoke that was coming out of our plastic shack and everything was burning to the ground, and unfortunately he could not do anything about it. So when I heard this story, I was really heartbroken, but my friend then told me to get into the car. So I got into the car and drove back to the place where he was now staying, a very beautiful place where he was staying. He then told me about the initiation that had happened on that night, and I was really lucky to have been accepted, but I refused to be initiated. He then told me that I was supposed to accept, otherwise I was going to he told me that I was supposed to accept by sleeping with any member of his occultic group. Then it meant that the money was going to be given to me. So I actually agreed to be made a wife by one of the men who is in that occultic group that I am initiated into. It was not a easy decision to make, but a difficult one. But he kept on reminding me about my sick father and how my parents were poor back home in Zim. So I then decided that it was far much better for me to accept. So he then told me that since I had refused to take part in that orgy, all that I had to do was now to go to their temple, because here in South Africa they have their own temple in the most beautiful suburbs in this province where we are staying. So I was then taken there, and the day that I was taken, it was on a Friday night. So I was taken to the temple priest, who is the head of this occultic group, the branch that is here in South Africa. So this man, he made me his wife from Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then he released me on Monday morning. It was not a pleasant thing, because this man, what he would do is that he was drinking some herbs that are from his country in Nigeria. So these herbs makes his manhood to be like fully erect, so much that it will be very painful. And then he was taking those Viagras, so you can just imagine the pain that I had to go through, because his manhood, it was fully erect at that time. So he used me from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then he released me After he had released me, I was then accepted into the club. We were then helped to start the businesses that we wanted to start. We were then given as much money as we wanted. So that was when I met up with this girl who used to work at this other hair salon where my friend used to go to. Even though me and my friend were now making money, but my friend, he used to love to hang around, like in downtown. But as for me, I don't like to hang around downtown because I just want to mix and mingle with people who have their own money. So he took me one day to this other hair salon which is in downtown. So at that salon, that was when we met this young woman, and I spoke with her, but she resisted me at first, but eventually she then agreed to date me. As she was dating me, after I slept with her, I found out that she was just beautiful from the outside, but inside her private part, she was not nice, and I then thought of sacrificing her. So at that time, the thought that had entered into my mind was that if I can sacrifice her to the occultic club that I got initiated into, then it means that my own covenant, the rules of the covenant were going to be changed because they are painful ones. You remember that I had to sleep with a man for me to be initiated into this club. So the rules of the covenant have to stay the same until the day I was told that the devil personally is going to visit me when he would have came to claim my soul. So it is a painful life to know that each and every year I have to go and sleep with that priest from Friday, Saturday until Sunday. This man, you will be sleeping with me, and the way that he sleeps with you, it is very painful. You can feel so much pain in your back area because of the way that he sleeps with you throughout the night, not giving you any rest. So I thought that if I was going to sacrifice this woman, then at least the terms and conditions were going to be relaxed, since I would have offered the blood. But one thing about the devil is that when he sees an opportunity for blood to be spilled, and you will be the one that will be spilling that blood, then he is not going to refuse. So I went and I spoke with the priest about this issue, and he actually lied to me, and he said that it was going to be done. It was only after this woman had been sacrificed that was when I knew that I had been lied to. So this woman, she got so sick, and when she got so sick, I was then told to give her some money. This was after I had been engaged to her, because they told me to buy a very expensive ring. So I bought a very expensive engagement ring, and we then held a small party. But what she didn't know was that at the party, since I had invited a lot of these guys that belong to the same occultic group that I am initiated into, this was a ceremony that was taking place as I was handing her, as I was placing that ring on her finger, I was actually buying her soul and giving her soul to this club. And this ring had been kept by that priest, and he was inviting the demon of death into that ring, so that the person that I was going to give this ring, she was going to die. And that is what happened after I had placed the ring on her finger. That was when she started to get so sick. I was then told that I was supposed to give her some money, for this money was the money that was going to be used for her burial. She then returned back home, and after she had returned back home, the demons kept on following her, the demons that had been summoned straight from hell. She then passed away. So the money that I gave her was the money that was used to buy her coffin, to buy the food that people ate at her funeral. So after she had been buried, we then flew from South Africa. We then went back to Zim, where we gathered around her grave, and there were a lot of things that are not even allowed that we did on her grave. Then we returned back to South Africa. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear brother right there. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by our brother, and that is the narration of his own story. Strange things do happen in this world. Yo.